A very good Monday evening to all our viewers. You're watching Primetime News on TV1, bringing you the news on Mariam Kanajaya. And I'm Rochelle Tamodra. Let's start off with a look at your stories that made headlines this evening.
Electricity tariff reduced by 21.9% effective from midnight today. Unit rate reduced from 12 rupees to 8 rupees for consumers using less than 30 units. 8 of the 56 Sri Lankans held at a cyber slave camp in Myanmar rescued. Parliament passes 42 new laws over the last 14 months to transform the economy. 62 additional laws to be presented to Parliament. President comments on what will happen if anyone attempts to impede these efforts.
කවුරුහරි බලනවා නම් මේවා සීමා කරන්න එහෙනම් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගෙනල්ලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ව්‍යවස්ථාදායක අධිකරණ බලතල ඉස්සරහා මේ ගැන විභාග කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේව නවත්තන්න බෑ.
No confidence motion against the Speaker to be tabled in Parliament tomorrow. SLPP chief organizer to arrive in Sri Lanka tomorrow. Basil is not coming back to Sri Lanka to wash Ranil's laundry, says Rajapaksa confidant Udayanga Veeratunga. A new institution to integrate the Indo-Sri Lanka power transmission systems. The cost is $1.2 billion.
On to a top story tonight. Based on the proposal from the Ceylon Electricity Board, the Public Utilities Commission has approved a reduction in electricity tariffs effective midnight tonight. Accordingly, the Public Utilities Commission Chairman Professor Manjula Fernando announced a 21.9% drop in electricity tariffs.
Effective the 5th of March, electricity tariffs will be reduced by 21.9%. The tariff will be reduced based on the category. The lowest consumption category, 30 units and below, will reduce to 8 rupees from 12 rupees. That is a reduction of 3 rupees. For 31 to 60 units, the tariff will drop by 28%. For 61 to 90, the tariff will drop by 30%. For 91 to 180 units, the tariff will drop by 24%. For above 180 units, it will be a reduction of 18%. A tariff reduction of about 33 will apply for religious places. For restaurants and factories, it will be a 18% reduction. For government institutions or general purposes, it will be a 22 to 23% reduction.
general purpose කියන සහ රාජ්‍යංශ කියන එකේ 23ක් 22ක් ප්‍රමාණයකට අඩු කරනවා.
The Director General of the PUCSL said that the Ceylon Electricity Board's interim financial statement for last year indicates a profit of nearly 620 billion rupees. This profit will be distributed to consumers in the future.
If there is a profit, it means the current tariff is higher than the last one. The PUCSL can then decide how those funds will be used. Based on the prevailing issues, we haven't used it here. We have made a significant reduction. In future, we can pass this on with revenue.
ඉස්සරහට මේක පාස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ මේ 71 සහ මේකට අන්තිම ගාමට 70 විතර කිට්ටු ඒකත් මේකත් මිනිස්සුන්ට බෙදලා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. පනතනු කරන්න ඕනේ. ඉස්සරහට මේ කැෂ් ෆ්ලෝ එක හොඳ වුණාම ඒවත් ඉදිරියට අපිට කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක මේගොල්ලෝ දීලා තියෙන අන්තිම ඉලක්කම නෙමෙයි මේ අතුරු ස්ටේට්මන්ට් එකකට දීලා. ඒක අතුරු ස්ටේට්මන්ට් වලින් කරන්න බෑ. ඒවා විගණනය වෙලා හරියට එන්න ඕන. ඒ ආවහම තමයි ඒවා ටැරිෆ් වලට ගන්න. මේ ලාභෙත් බෙදන්න පුළුවන්. බෙදියන්න ඕන. ඒක තීරණය කරත හැකි වෙන වැඩ කටයුතු සහ ඒකේ එන ප්‍රමාණය අනුව අනාගත මේවා එකට අනාගත එන ටැරිෆ් රිවිෂන් එක.
8 out of the 56 Sri Lankans who were held captive in a cyber slave camp in Myanmar have been successfully rescued. Janaka Bandara, the Sri Lankan ambassador to Myanmar, confirmed their safe retrieval and noted the group is currently at the Miyawadi police station.
The rescue is confirmed. The Home Affairs Ministry of Myanmar informed us that the group of 8 were rescued and moved to the Miyawadi police station. The Sri Lankan Mission and the Sri Lankan Ministry of Foreign Affairs will discuss and formulate a program for their repatriation.
Recent reports from Newsfirst shed light on a concerning situation involving 56 Sri Lankan youth who are currently held captive in an area controlled by a non-state armed group along the Thai-Myanmar border. The group of Sri Lankan youth were initially lured to Myanmar under the pretense of providing IT-related employment opportunities. The Sri Lankan youth are distributed across 3 distinct locations within Myanmar's Myawaddy area. The 8 rescued youth were held at a location close to the Moi River next to the Myawaddy town. Another holds 18 individuals near the Thailand border, some 5 kilometers away from the Myawaddy area, and the third location allegedly confines 25 youth further inland, some 26 kilometers away from the Myawaddy township.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe said new legislation is required to establish a new economic paradigm. The President revealed that over the past 14 months, the Parliament has enacted 42 new laws to facilitate the country's economic transformation. President Wickremesinghe also highlighted the necessity of passing an additional 62 laws through Parliament.
The What's New dialogue on legal reforms with young legal professionals was held at the BMICH yesterday, chaired by President Ranil Wickremesinghe, to recognise the need for new legal reforms and the importance of the views of the youth and the new generation. Attorney General Sanjay Rajaratnam, young legal professionals and law college students also participated in the dialogue.
අපේ ආර්ථිකය පරිවර්තනය කරන්න. දේශීය ආර්ථිකයේ ඉඳන්
We must transition from a domestic economy to one focused on exports. Shifting to a competitive export-driven economy is essential. Simultaneously, we should embrace a digital and sustainable green economy. To establish this new economic paradigm, we require new legislation. The government has made significant strides, passing 42 laws in the past 14 months, a remarkable achievement. Now, the challenge lies in presenting the remaining 62 laws. Postponing the parliamentary vote is not an option. Any unfinished business will be carried forward to the next parliament. We are in the process of introducing a new law to replace the Port City law aimed at establishing an offshore economy. Given the unique nature of this economy, the existing laws of Sri Lanka may not be adequate, and thus UK commercial laws will apply within the jurisdiction of the offshore economy. It is essential to introduce laws that are globally accepted to foster the country's development. Furthermore, we are restructuring government institutions engaged in commercial activities. All government corporations will be reorganized into companies with their shares consolidated under a central entity. This restructuring aligns with commercial principles and imposes responsibilities akin to those of directors of public companies under the Companies Act. Sanctions can be imposed for any errors made. Additionally, we aim to introduce legislation concerning public-private joint ventures to further facilitate economic progress. A new Public Financial Management Act is set to be introduced along with the Public Debt Management Act and an Agriculture Modernization Act, all aimed at achieving specific economic goals. Additionally, an Economic Transformation Act will be enacted to spearhead these objectives, potentially leading to the establishment of an economic commission in lieu of the current Board of Investment. Furthermore, control over trade zones under the Board of Investment and newly established trade zones will be consolidated under this commission. To bolster domestic productivity, a National Productivity Commission will be established. Simultaneously, the establishment of an Economic and International Trade Institute is underway to further support economic growth. To streamline the legislative process, these initiatives will be presented collectively to the Supreme Court, avoiding the need for separate submissions over time. The legislative process involves presenting proposed laws to Parliament for consideration. Following parliamentary approval, these laws will undergo scrutiny by the Supreme Court before being enacted. Despite some opposition, it is crucial to uphold the integrity of our legal system and safeguard the authority of Parliament. Any attempts to undermine the law or restrict parliamentary powers through dubious interpretations must be resisted. When the President appoints the Cabinet, their accountability to Parliament remains unchanged. Thus, the power now resides within Parliament as outlined in the Constitution, where Parliament's authority, fundamental powers and universal suffrage takes precedence. As the President, I currently hold executive powers which can be replaced by Parliament, but the powers of Parliament itself cannot be abolished. During Colvinar de Silva's tenure in Parliament, the emphasis was on socialism, while Gyberg introduced the open economy. Similarly, we are committed to advancing along this trajectory. Both Colvinar de Silva and Gyberg, who were classmates at Royal College, shared a similar mindset, recognizing the primacy of parliamentary sovereignty. However, we must proceed in accordance with UK law. Any attempts to impede these efforts can be brought before Parliament for scrutiny by its legislative and judicial branches. These endeavours cannot be obstructed, as it is imperative to prevent further suffering among the population.
කවුරුහරි බලනවා නම් මේවා සීමා කරන්න එහෙනම් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගෙනල්ලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ව්‍යවස්ථාදායක අධිකරණ බලතල ඉස්සරහා මේ ගැන විභාග කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේව නවත්තන්න බෑ.
US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung highlighted the importance of freedom of expression to drive positive change. She expressed these views at the Youth Forum Leadership Summit 2024, organized by the US Embassy in Columbo.
The Youth Forum Leadership Summit 2024, organised by the US Embassy in Colombo, commenced today with the US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, Bangladesh High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Tariq Mohammad Ariful Islam, Ambassador of Nepal to Sri Lanka, Bashudev Mishra, and diplomats representing India, Pakistan and Maldives in attendance.
We are connected, not only by our geography of this region, but by our shared aspirations for a brighter future. This summit serves as a testament to the United States' commitment to regional cooperation and collective action. While coming from diverse backgrounds, religions, and cultures, we share common challenges and opportunities. The theme of transformation, you heard that from Haiti before. You're here to be transformed. Sri Lanka itself has undergone a lot of transformation in recent years, embracing reforms, economic development, social progress. But our journey of transformation is ongoing. It's never ending. It requires active participation of all the stakeholders, especially you, our youth. So as we embark on this summit, let us focus on translating emerging voices into tangible action. Now, social media platforms have revolutionized how we communicate, offering a powerful tool for amplifying our voices on a global scale. So I urge you, each of you, to embrace the power of your voice. Speak up for what you believe in. Share your stories. Advocate for a better world. Remember that freedom of expression is a fundamental right that empowers us to drive positive change and shape the world around us.
75 Sri Lankans and 25 youth from Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Nepal and Pakistan will participate in the 4-day summit.
The COR Group on Sri Lanka at the UN Human Rights Council have expressed concern over the recent legislative developments regarding human rights in the country.
The Online Safety Act has a potential to severely restrict online communication and could potentially criminalise nearly all forms of expression, creating an environment that has a chilling effect on freedom of expression. We urge the government to enact amendments to align the Act with Sri Lanka's human rights obligations and commitments. We continue to call for the Prevention of Terrorism Act to be replaced with legislation that is consistent with Sri Lanka's international obligations. We acknowledge the recent release of 9 Tamil leaders detained last November. We encourage the release of unjustly held long-term PTA detainees and for Sri Lanka to maintain a moratorium on its use. While we note the government's effort to establish a Commission on Truth, Unity and Reconciliation, we stress the importance of an inclusive, participatory process to build trust in advance of any legislation. Any future commission must be independent, inclusive, meaningful and transparent, meet the expectations of affected communities, build upon previous transitional justice processes and provide pathways for accountability. As the government brings forward other legislation with potentially serious implications for fundamental freedoms and civic space, we encourage comprehensive consultations with stakeholders, including civil society and due legislative process. We urge the government to engage with you and your office to address these and other challenges, and we remain ready to support Sri Lanka in addressing HRC Resolution 51/1.
Meanwhile, Indian farmers are set to march towards New Delhi on the 6th of March and will also block rail tracks on the 10th of March.
In a sign of the political sensitivity, journalists and activists covering or involved in the Farmers' March have complained of social media censorship. Elon Musk's platform X said last week that the Indian government had ordered it to take down posts and block users.
और इससे भी बड़ी बात है कि हमारे आंदोलन के सहयोगी साथी
Indian farmer leaders Sarwan Singh Pandar and Jagjit Singh Dalewal announced that protesting farmers would recommence their agitation with a nationwide rail rocko on the 10th of March from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. The farmers currently stationed at the border points between Punjab and Haryana are set to embark on a peaceful march towards Delhi on the 6th of March. Speaking from Punjab's Pallo village, the native place of a recently deceased farmer amidst clashes, Pandar and Dalewal emphasized the intensification of their protest until their demands are addressed by the centre. When India's powerful Prime Minister Narendra Modi agreed in 2021 to repeal 3 farm laws aimed at overhauling the antiquated agricultural sector, he seemed to have won over farmers who had been protesting for over 12 months. But just over 2 years later, farmers are on the warpath again in the politically sensitive north of the world's most populous nation, seeking legal guarantees for a minimum purchase price for all crops. The protest comes just months before a general election due by May. Although the farmers' protest is confirmed to the breadbasket state of Punjab for now, their complaints of falling incomes resonate more widely, highlighting a perception in India's huge rural hinterland that Modi and the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party have done too little to support the farming community and raise living standards. Over 40% of India's 1.4 billion people are dependent on agriculture, and many say they have suffered economically under Modi at the expense of their urban counterparts. The protest began in early February with hundreds of farmers in Punjab setting out to take their campaign to the capital, Delhi. They were blocked by police and paramilitary troops at Shambhu at the border with neighbouring Haryana state, about 200 kilometres from the capital.
But more international news, chaos ensued in Haiti capital Port-au-Prince on Sunday with connectivity disruptions following an attack on the country's main penitentiary, which left most of its inmates at large.
Gang leader Jimmy Cherizier, a former police officer, has claimed responsibility for a surge in violent attacks which have engulfed the country recently. He said the aim was to oust Prime Minister Ariel Henry. The latest in the string of violence was the attack on the country's largest prison, which left at least 3 prisoners killed, apparently as they tried to escape. Prison gates were opened on Sunday with no security personnel in sight. Many families of prisoners held at the facility rushed there to check on loved ones. The facility, built to hold 700 prisoners, had some 3,687 inmates locked up as of February last year, as per rights group RNDDH. Less than 100 are believed to still be inside the facility after the attack. They included 18 retired Colombian soldiers accused of working as mercenaries in the July 2021 assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moise. UN and Western-led deployments are viewed skeptically in Haiti, following past cases of child sexual abuse and a 2010 cholera outbreak that was traced back to a barracks in a country that had previously eradicated the disease.
When's the election?
The focus of many in Sri Lanka's political arena seems to be deciphering whether a general election or presidential election will be held this year. Amidst all these opinions and arguments, a new topic has now come to light. That is the return of Basil Rajapaksa, the man who formed the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Basil Rajapaksa, who is scheduled to arrive in the island tomorrow morning, is expected to spearhead the SLPP's preparations for any upcoming election.
Will Basil Rajapaksa join hands with current President Ranil Wickremesinghe? What sort of election is the SLPP setting itself up for? Who will be the SLPP's presidential candidate? Udayanga Weerathunga, a former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, spoke to Newsline today and revealed many facts.
දැන් ජනාධිපති වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමත් එක්ක නැද්ද ඒ පිළේ නැද්ද ඔහුට සහාය දෙන්නේ නැද්ද
දේශපාලන වශයෙන් ආයි කිසිම සහයෝගයක් මේ වගේ රට විනාශ කරන වැඩ පිළිවෙලකට බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂවත් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂවත් ලබා දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක නියතයි. ගෝඨායියා ආවේ ජනතාවගේ ගොඩාක් දේවල් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන. ඔහුට ඒක කරන්න බැරුණේ ඔහුට හිතපු පුද්ගලයෝ නිසා. ඒ වලල්ල ඔහුට ගලවගෙන එළියට එන්න බැරුණා.
උදයංග වීරතුංගලා ඒ ඉනර් සර්කල් එකේ හිටියේ නැද්ද? ඒ ළඟම රවුමේ සමීප රවුමේ හිටියේ නැද්ද?
ගෝඨායියා ගාව හිටියේ නැහැ.
දැන් ඔබ බැසිල් අයියාගේ එන්නද මේ උත්සාහ දරන්නේ?
බැසිල් අයියා ගේනෙකේ වටිනාකම තියෙන්නේ පළවෙනියට බැසිල් අයියම නිවැරදි කරගන්න ඕන මේ රනිල් කරලා රනිල් ගෙනල්ලා මේ රටට කරපු වින්නයි. රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ කිසිම දවසක ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිපත්තියක් රටට ගෙනල්ලා ජයග්‍රහණය කරවල දෙයක් නැහැ. 2047 වෙනකන් අපිට ඉන්න වෙයිද?
ඒ කියන්නේ ඊට කලින් බලය ගන්නද මේ බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා හෙට ලංකාවට එන්නේ?
එමිරේට්ස් ගුවන් යානාවෙන් ලංකාවට ගොඩ බහිනවා. හැබැයි ඔහු එන්නේ පළවෙනි දේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහගේ ඇඳුම් හොදන්න නෙමෙයි.
මේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ හෙට ඉඳලා මැතිවරණ සටනකට යනවා බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාගේ නායකත්වයේ යටතේ.
100% ඒක ඒ විදියට වෙනවා. මේ වික්‍රමසිංහ විකුණන න්යාමයේ නතර කරලා මේ රට යුද්ධය නැවත ඇති වෙන වාතාවරණයක් ගේන්න ඕන කියන එකයි මගේ මතය.
ඉස්සෙල්ලම එන මැතිවරණය මොකද්ද?
100% දැනට තීරණ අරගෙන බැසිල් අයියා එන්නේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු වැඩසටහනකට. ඒ කියන්නේ
අනිවාර්යයෙන් පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැතිවරණයකටද බැසිල් මහතා ලංකාවට එන්නේ?
ඔව්. රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහව පත් කරේ ගෝඨායියාගේ දුර කාලේ අවසන් වෙනකන් ඒ වෙලාවේ ගත්තු තීන්දුවක්. නමුත් ඊළඟ ඡන්දෙට කිසිම විදියකින් පොදු ජන පෙරමුණේ එහෙම නැත්නම් අපේ කඳවුරේ අපේක්ෂකය වීම 100% ඒ අපේක්ෂකය රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ නෙමෙයි.
බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාගේ ඒ යාන්ත්‍රණය කැරකැවීමට නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා එකඟද?
අද රාජපක්ෂවරු ටික 2005 වගේ පිටට මොනවා කිව්වත් කවුරු මොනවා කිව්වත් එක මිටට එකතු වෙලා හමාරයි. අද බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂගේ වැඩපිළිවෙලේ මුලින්ම ඉන්නේ නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ.
When's the election?
Speaking during a media briefing convened by the Pivithuru Helorumaya today, its leader MP Uday Gamampil expressed views regarding future elections.
The real candidates will not be revealed till 3 months prior to the presidential polls. It is too early to speak of the candidates.
බැසිල් මහත්තයා දැන් එනවා කියලා තියෙන ලංකාවට එයා එන්නේ මහමැතිවරණයක් සඳහා සංවිධාන කටයුතු කරන්නයි. කවුද කියන්නේ? මට නාරංචි.
Who said so? I heard that he was invited by a group for a Sri Lankan tour, since he became an American citizen to promote tourism in Sri Lanka. We are happy that tourists arrive in this country. We like the tourists who earn in America and spend here. Unfortunately, these tourists earn in Sri Lanka and spend in America. So we are not too happy about them arriving in Sri Lanka.
When's the election?
Vijitha Herath from the Jatika Jana Balawegaya reacted to the news over the return of Basil Rajapaksa, the founder of the SLPP.
The SLPP supporters need to be ashamed of themselves, as their leader spent several years in the US, enjoyed luxuries and is expected to return in the coming days. The leader should have been with the party supporters when they were down. We recall how he fled the country the morning after suffering an election defeat. Why did he remain in the US for so long? Now he is about to return and will claim to do lose so many things. No matter who returns, the fallen SLPP cannot be revived. It has split and there is no recovery for it. Will the term "the person with 7 brains" still apply to Basil Rajapaksa? It is the same person who led the downfall of the country's economy. He also said that the people who voted for them are also accountable for the economic downfall. He blamed the people for it. That alone is sufficient to determine his stance. If he actually had the knowledge of 7 brains, the country's economy would never have fallen into a precipice.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajid Pradas expressed these views at an event in Monaragala.
There's a saying that goes, when one school is built, 10 prisons can be closed. There was an era in this country where schools were burnt down. There were groups who burnt schools down with the help of the parents. Every wall of the school had a quote written on it. "This is my child's school. Protecting it is my duty." This was a reminder to parents that burning schools down was a crime. Don't forget that such a time existed, where instead of building schools, they destroyed them, burning them down. When they couldn't burn down the schools as they had planned, they now say that this way of education is good and that a change wouldn't be any better.
Opposition leader expressed these views while attending an event to provide smart classrooms at the Buttala Gonagangara Secondary College in Monaragala under the Sakwala program. The opposition has reiterated its stance that the motion of no confidence against Speaker Mahinda Pabewardena will be formally submitted to the Parliament tomorrow. If produced, it marks the first instance of a motion of no confidence specifically targeting a Speaker of the Parliament of Sri Lanka.
The no confidence motion against the Speaker will be submitted to the Parliament tomorrow. Never in Sri Lanka's history has a Speaker of the Parliament faced a no confidence motion. The opposition reached this decision as there is no alternative. What is significant is that all opposition parties and groups have expressed their support to this move. The core of this motion is surrounding the Speaker's misconduct during the third phase of the passing of the Online Safety Act in the House. He evaded his responsibilities completely. If the Speaker adapts to the same conduct to the anti-terrorism bill, then the country would have serious issues internationally. Therefore, before this bill is being debated in the Parliament, the no confidence motion against the Speaker must be debated and it cannot be delayed. The Samaga Jana Balawega expressed views regarding the no confidence motion against the Speaker.
We are strongly displeased over a bill being passed with flaws and validating it with the signature. That is why we took steps to bring this no confidence motion. We will submit it tomorrow with MPs' signatures. We hope to have a debate soon and to obtain a date in the near future to pass the no confidence motion.
SJB MP Eran Vikram Ratna expressed these views.
The chairman of the Constitutional Council has the decisive vote and the Speaker can only vote if equal votes are cast. In this instance, the Speaker had no constitutional authority to cast his decisive vote. At the Parliament session, I questioned whether or not he casted the vote. Based on information from the Constitutional Council, he had not cast his vote and there is no appointment. So, this has not happened according to the Constitution. That is the argument in court.
News First with the people.
The Ministry of Power and Energy announced a proposal to establish a separate institute for a power transmission grid from India to Sri Lanka. The estimated cost of the project is $1.2 billion.
How will India and Sri Lanka be connected by power lines? Plans are underway to connect Sri Lanka to India's national transmission grid with a line running from Anuradhapura to Chennai. According to the proposal, the initial 130 kilometers of the line will be on land in India. The power line continues its journey from India to Sri Lanka under sea. The line from Tirukethiswaram near Mannar will connect to the Sri Lankan mainland. Power lines will then transmit the power on land from Mannar. This system will be developed in 2 phases. Initially, it will have a capacity of 500 megawatts, which will later be expanded to 1000 megawatts. What are the goals of the India-Sri Lanka power line project?
අපිට බලශක්ති සුරක්ෂිතභාවය පිළිබඳව යම් වැඩිපුර
It builds trust regarding energy security. We estimated a cost of around $1.2 billion. We proposed that a separate institution be established for this purpose, with 50% representation for Sri Lanka. It is being discussed further. We are responsible to find the required funds.
ඉතින් ඒ සම්බන්ධව තවදුරටත් සාකච්ඡා වීම පවතිනවා. ඒ අවශ්‍ය කරන මුදල් සපයා ගැනීම වගකීම අපි සතුව පවතිනවා.
Has an agreement been reached to connect the national power grids of India and Sri Lanka?
අපි ගිවිසුමක් විදිහට තිබෙන්නේ අවශ්‍ය කරන
A memorandum of understanding was signed to conduct the necessary technical assessments. That is the only agreement. However, it was proposed that the project should be implemented within a legal framework. There is an agreement at an official level that an initial agreement should be signed. Will the Indo-Sri Lanka transmission grid connectivity pose a threat to national security? Former chairman of the CEB, Professor Anura Vijayapala, said this project has both pros and cons. If this is connected, Sri Lanka has many benefits. The redundant power can be exported to India. During severe droughts, we can obtain power from India and cover the redundancy without making emergency purchases. When two countries have geopolitical connections like this, when a conflict arises, one country may use it to control the other country. One example is when Russia and Europe were having a conflict. Russia reduced its LNG supply to Europe. Europe faced a severe crisis during winter as a result. This can happen in the future, so it must be reached carefully. The Secretary to the Minister of Power and Energy said, even if connected with India, a national program is required to fulfill the country's power demand. Although the transmission lines may be connected to India, our program to reach energy targets must continue. The Columbo High Court has handed down a death sentence to a sub-inspector and police constable today. They were found guilty of beating to death a suspect who was arrested for committing a robbery. The verdict was delivered by Judge Navaratna Marasinghe. The condemned officers were affiliated with the Paliagoda police. Their conviction stems from their involvement in a disturbing incident related to the theft of a mobile phone. The victim was a servant employed by a separate police officer who was attached to the fingerprint division of the police department. According to records, the wife of the police officer brought the suspect to the Paliagoda police station after the mobile phone was allegedly stolen from their residence. However, events took a tragic turn when the 52-year-old suspect was allegedly illegally detained and subjected to fatal beatings. The murder has taken place in 2005 and the sub-inspector and a police constable were found guilty of the crime and were sentenced to death by the Colombo High Court.
Dr. Saman Ratnayake, the Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Health, who was arrested and remanded over the medicine procurement scandal, was produced to the Maliga Kanda Magistrates Court to provide a confidential or in-camera statement.
Dr. Saman Ratnayake, the Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Health, was arrested by the CID last Friday and was produced in court to provide a confidential or in-camera statement. Following his arrest on Friday, he was produced in court on Saturday. Thereafter, he had informed the court via counsel that he wished to provide a confidential statement. Accordingly, he was produced in court to provide the said statement and was returned to remand custody, where he will remain until the 14th of March.
Professor Boris Gyberg from Harvard Business School delivered a lecture on leadership in extreme situations in Colombo. The event was organized by the Chamber of Young Lankan Entrepreneurs, or COYLE.
An interactive session on leadership in extreme situations was conducted by Professor Boris Gyberg from Harvard Business School.
By the way, so if you are going to do science, you have to take with you who? Scientists. So what is the problem with taking people like me to the South Pole? Come on, it's okay, tell me. I mean, I have 4 teenagers. There is nothing you can say I did not hear in the morning.
It's a very hostile environment.
Yeah. And what's your point, yeah?
The interactive session with Professor Gyberg will be held in Colombo from the 4th to the 6th of March. Newsfirst is the media sponsor of the event. The Old Girls Association of the Mukarrama International School held their inaugural pre-Ramazan fair yesterday.
The Old Girls Association of Mukarama International School held their first ever pre-Ramadan fair yesterday in Columbo. This event was to celebrate the spirit of Ramadan while offering a platform for small businesses to showcase their Ramadan-themed products and services.
Renowned wildlife artist Tharanga Herath's Petrika wildlife exhibition concluded in Colombo after 4 days of showcasing around 50 original paintings and illustrations celebrating Sri Lanka's unique biodiversity.
Tharanga Herath, with over 25 years of experience, draws inspiration from his extensive field experience. The exhibition attracted a wide audience, including art enthusiasts, students of art and natural sciences, and wildlife lovers. Herath's work has been locally featured in publications by the Wildlife Trust and the Sri Lanka Turtle Conservation Project, while he also reached finalist stages in prestigious competitions like Russia's Golden Turtle and Singapore's Mandala International Wildlife Art Exhibition.
Before we wrap up news tonight, we have some news coming in. Fuel prices have been revised accordingly. 95 octane petrol, the price has reduced by 9 rupees to 447 rupees. Super diesel reduced by 10 rupees to 458 rupees. Kerosene reduced by 5 rupees to 257 rupees. And there have been no changes to 92 octane petrol and auto diesel. This was confirmed by the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team and Mariam Ganavijaya.
And I'm Rochelle Thermodra. Thank you for watching. Good night.